Well, the Candace Owens expose on the Mormon Mafia turned out to be a nothing burger, and I'm not going to waste a ton of your time, but I'll give you the too long didn't read on that. So instead, our feature story is going to be taking a look at some of the most inspiring words that I've heard from a president of the United States said directly to the Latter-day Saints. I think you'll find it very interesting. And we're going to be talking about our church history adventures in Kirtland, Ohio today. Some incredible stuff. All this and more. My name is Jackson Wayne Paul, and welcome to Latter Daily Saints.
What power shall stay the heavens from pouring down knowledge from heaven upon the heads of the Latter-day Saints?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Latter Daily Saints. For our first-time viewers, welcome to edition 4 of Hotel Studio. Okay, we're on the road right now on the first ever inaugural Plain and Precious Tours Church History Tour with Dr. Michael Day. And I am joined in the makeshift studio by my big little brother, Hayden Robert Paul. Hayden, welcome.
How you doing, everybody? It's crazy that in every single hotel room, we found a microphone that looks like it's something else, but it's actually a mic.
Exactly. It's actually very impressive, okay? This is not plugged in, by the way. So for those of you in the comments that are fearing for my well-being,
yeah,
and I know there are many, but what you've stumbled upon here is a show, a news and pop culture commentary show made by Latter-day Saints for Latter-day Saints, but visitors are indeed always welcome. And I'm shocked by how many non-members we have in the comments daily.
Yeah, can I read a comment real quick from one of them that was awesome from today?
We're doing the show in reverse order.
We're gonna do it in reverse order because I loved this comment. It was so cool. So this is from a gentleman from Ireland.
As you're pulling that up, because I'm assuming it's going to take you a second.
Oh, I got it right now.
Oh, okay, go.
And his name is D Riker 9677. Hopefully he's still watching. He says, "No idea how the show started showing up in my feed, but now I'm a subscriber and feel like I need to reach out to my local missionaries. Love from Ireland."
Dude,
that's a pretty awesome comment.
That is a pretty awesome comment.
So, hey, D. Riker, we love you, man. And anyone else that might be watching, call in your local missionaries. What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that could happen? And D. Riker, if you could swing it, my wife and I are trying to come out to the Ryder Cup in Ireland. So if you have an extra bed to crash on, I'd appreciate it.
That'd be crazy.
But as you can already tell by the way that we are not official representatives of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But we love taking a look at things happening in the world abroad and specifically in the Latter-day Saint community and run our mouths on the internet about it. So if you find value in the stuff that we're doing, just like our boy D. Riker, hit subscribe, okay? There's daily watchers that still haven't hit subscribe. Just make an account, all right? But anyways, look, Candace Owens, she came out with her episode, all right, on the Mormon Mafia. And I was going to be like, let's do Candace 2 days in a row, but I just can't bring myself to do that and waste your time, okay?
It's so low IQ.
I know. I went and I wasted like 30 minutes watching her episode. Here's the too long didn't read, TLDR. Candace, she does this expose on Howard Hughes. Who's Howard Hughes? He owned a bunch of real estate and casinos down in Las Vegas. Super rich dude. Near the end of his life, he was had a big aversion to alcohol and smoking, but wasn't a member. He then became allegedly mega OCD and locked himself in a penthouse room and hired 6 Mormons that allegedly were the only people that had access to him. Then he ends up dying, and $1.4 billion in a trust goes to one of his closest right-hand man who was a member of the church. And then she says, "And now isn't it interesting that Tyler Boyer, Terrell Farnsworth, and other people on Charlie's
team." And Tyler
team,
Robinson, too.
Yeah. No, she didn't even say that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she didn't even say that.
That's crazy.
Because Tyler Robinson is innocent.
Yeah.
That's what she says.
That's what she says.
Which maybe he is. Maybe he's guilty. Who knows? Trial hasn't happened yet.
It's leaning heavily towards one.
It's leaning. But she's like, isn't it interesting that they are Mormons too? Just thought it was curious. And then just moves on. And we're like, you just wasted our time
on an obscure story, which is an awesome story. It's like that country song, where he's talking to the old man and then he ends up leaving his whole, he meets him at a bar and then he ends up leaving his whole estate to him. You know what I'm talking about?
Don't know that one, but
All right,
we'll link in the description. All right. So, didn't want to waste your time pulling up the clips, watching this incoherency once again. So, we're going to watch one of the most based clips of history.
It's been passed around the internet recently. It's
exactly. Cool. It's been catching some steam, which it's been posted before, but hasn't caught steam. But for some reason, it is. So, if you don't remember, we had a president named John F. Kennedy. Jr., right? JFK Jr.?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why don't we say JFK Jr.? Why do we just say JFK?
Wait, is it JFK Jr.?
JFK Jr. died in a plane crash.
Oh.
I'm serious.
Okay, never mind.
All right.
That was John F. Kennedy. You're thinking of Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK Jr., not JFK
All
Jr.
right, cut this whole thing. Right? Please. Brandon, cut.
No.
He's going to keep it in.
Mark it.
I'm keeping it in.
No, I'm serious. This whole interaction, you have to cut it. All right. So if you didn't know, we had a president by the name of John F. Kennedy, okay? And this president gave a speech at the Tabernacle on Temple Square where they used to hold General Conference, all right? If you haven't been there, every Thursday night, I didn't know this, every Thursday night, they do rehearsals for the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, and you can just go and sit in on
go?
Really? Yeah. And I did, and they are so beautiful. Yeah. Their voices are phenomenal. So I suggest you do that. Thursday nights, it's free. All right. But he gave a speech there in September 26th, I believe, 1963. Okay. And what he said about the Mormon pioneers was pretty awesome. We're going to take a look at that and then give you an update on our church history adventures that we've had and enjoyed today in Kirtland, Ohio. All right. So we're going to take a look at this clip.
I appreciate your welcome. And I'm very proud to be back in this historic building and have an opportunity to say a few words on some matters which concern me as president, and I hope concern you as citizens. Of all the stories of American pioneers and settlers, none is more inspiring than the Mormon Trail. The qualities of the founders of this community are the qualities that we seek in America, qualities which we like to feel this country has: courage, patience, faith, self-reliance, perseverance, and above all, an unflagging determination to see the right prevail. I came on this trip to see the United States. The primary reason for my trip was conservation. And I include in conservation first our human resources and then our natural resources. And I think this state can take perhaps its greatest pride and its greatest satisfaction for what it's done, not in the field of the conservation and the development of natural resources, but what you've done to educate your children. This state has a higher percentage per capita of population of its boys and girls who finish high school and then go to college. If this is a strong, vital, and vigorous society, the cause of freedom will be strong and vital and vigorous. And I know that many of you in this state and other states sometimes wonder where we're going and why the United States should be so involved in so many affairs in so many countries all around the globe. If our task on occasion seems hopeless, if we despair of ever working our will on the other 94% of the world's population, then let us remember that the Mormons of a century ago were a persecuted and prosecuted minority, harried from place to place, the victims of violence and occasionally murder, while today, in the short space of 100 years, their faith and works are known and respected the world around, and their voices heard in the highest councils of this country. As the Mormons succeeded, so America can succeed, if we will not give up or turn back.
That's pretty epic. Dude, and I feel like that the last couple of days, as you hear these stories of Joseph Smith, like yesterday you talked about the tarring and feathering of him and
Johnson
Oliver
farm,
Cowdery at the Johnson farm. And, later we're going to be in the same place where the Hans Mill massacre took place, and just all of the hardship. And it wasn't just one person. Like, it wasn't just Joseph Smith that was persecuted. It was thousands of Latter-day Saints who put their shoulder to the wheel. And when you think about the Wild West in America, do you know who that was? It was mostly the Mormons. It was the Latter-day Saints who were pushing out west. First, they went out to Mexico. It later became a part of the United States. But we learned yesterday, too, that the gold rush, too, it was Latter-day Saints who first discovered gold in San Francisco. Like, we were the ones, our ancestors were the ones who blazed the trails across America. And it was the Latter-day Saints who did that. That's epic.
Yeah. There's some pros and cons to that. Have you seen American Primeval?
True.
If you haven't.
Yeah.
It was the Wild West back then, all right? And look, when you have a people that literally codified into state law that on sight you can literally murder men, women, and children just because they are a part of a certain religion, you might be a little bit on your toes, all right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'll say. I don't know. I've never been put in that position before, so not sure how I'd react. But no, I think that was a phenomenal speech. And, politicians, they kind of sometimes just say what you want to hear.
That's
right?
probably what he's doing. But
Maybe a little bit.
doesn't mean it ain't true.
Doesn't mean it ain't true, right? Doesn't mean that Donald Trump isn't akin to Captain Moroni. Like Mike Lee said. Remember when he said that?
What an insane thing to say.
Oh my God.
Independent of what you think about like politics and Trump or whatever, it's like, he ain't Captain Moroni.
He's not.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's not. But anyways, I just thought that was a phenomenal ode to the pioneers and the early settlers, the early members of the church, that when you break it down like Hayden just did, like they weren't just going to another state. Oh, let's try the next town over. They were literally blazing trails into another country. Okay. And the hardships that they dealt with along the way are awe-inspiring. And the experiences that we got to go have today was going to the Kirtland Temple. And it was interesting because, like we've talked before, our little sister Ella, she doesn't watch this show, but shout out to you, Ella, if you ever watch this. Okay. She was one of the sister missionaries that would do guided tours in the Kirtland historical sites. And we came here when she was a missionary and got a guided tour. But at the time, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints hadn't yet purchased the plot of the Kirtland Temple. And so it was a volunteer that was doing a program in community college and had to volunteer a certain amount of hours. And part of that could be giving tours of the Kirtland Temple. And
they didn't know anything about
couldn't
LDS
answer
Church.
any of our questions
Yeah.
at all. And so it was really cool to experience this tour led by senior missionaries and sister missionaries and hear of these inspiring stories from things that happened at the dedication. We sang the Spirit of God, like a fire is burning in there. And we have a 50-person group. And so it was pretty emotional. And then just thinking about the experience that Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith had just a week after the dedication on April 3rd. It was not only, it was the Sabbath, but it was also Easter and it was also the Passover, right? Mm-hmm. And they closed some of the veils that they had on the breastwork of the temple, and they recorded an account in which Jesus Christ himself appeared there, and he essentially said that this house that was built, not that it was built perfectly, but that their efforts had been accepted and that it was a house of the Lord. And just the amount of sacrifice and buy-in that the early saints had Bro, bring that culture back, bro.
Yeah.
Bring that culture of unity back.
So one thing that we learned about is it's Newell K. Whitney, right? And Newell K. Whitney was essentially like the entrepreneur of Kirtland.
Yeah.
And he learned about the church join. Joseph Smith eventually comes. They live at his house for a while. Then they live up in his storefront. But when it came to building the Kirtland Temple, like Newell K. Whitney had businesses that he completely dedicated and consecrated to the building of the temple. So, for example, he had an ashery, which is a whole thing of like potash and what they use that for and how they make it. It's crazy.
How did they figure that stuff
I
out?
have no idea.
How did they do that?
It's insane. But he dedicated all of the revenue from that to building. He took that from himself and from his businesses, and he put it towards building the temple. And then we all know those stories about Latter-day Saints breaking their glass and their fine china and mixing it in with the stucco that was put on the outside so that it would glisten and it would shine bright. And I think one of the main takeaways that I get from Kirtland is Joseph Smith was not doing this alone. Yes, he had the help from God, but just as Joseph Smith was being called, so were other people around, and God was leading him to those people and those people to him to build the restoration. And I just want you guys to think as Latter-day Saints, you have been called to restore the church as well. We all have a role to play, and there isn't a role that is more important than the other. And it reminds us, one of the things that we did today, and I know we're going to talk about briefly for a second, is we read something called the Apostolic Charge. And that's something that is reiterated over and over again to the first apostles. There's a line in there that says, "You are not loved more than any others." And there's 2 other times where it talks about, you are not more special than anyone else. You are called to serve and to preach. So that was kind of my takeaway today. I think Kirtland's awesome. And
Yeah.
you need to come. If you haven't come to Kirtland with us. We're going next year too, so you can check that out, link in the description.
Now, I want to share a story that's kind of in line with these principles that Hayden's sharing here from the Book of Mormon. But what's interesting about that story between Newell K. Whitney and the prophet Joseph Smith is Newell K. Whitney and his wife had been praying to be able to meet the prophet Joseph Smith. And obviously at the time, the church was in a big, era of growing. And so it wasn't likely that he's just going to pick up and go down there. But then Joseph Smith shows up in his house one day and it was like, "My name is Joseph Smith and I know you've been praying for me."
Well, he says, "You art the man."
Yeah. Newell K. Whitney, you are the man.
Shakes his hand and says, "You've prayed me here. Now what do you want of me?"
Exactly. Yeah. And so Newell K. Whitney is like, "How do you know this? Let's get to work," basically. And so it reminds me of an awesome story that's kind of related in that same principle, in that same vein, in Alma 8, where we have Alma the Younger, or Alma, that is going out and is commanded to preach repentance to a people that is very resistant to his message, right? And he gets kicked out of a city. And just as he's walking to his home, he then is visited by an angel. And that angel basically tells him that he needs to go back to the city, go around a different way, and that basically everything's going to work out, right? And so we're going to read a couple verses here because I just think the message here is awesome. And it starts here in verse 18. It says, "Now it came to pass that after Alma had received his message from the angel of the Lord, he returned speedily to the land of Ammonihah. And it came to pass that he entered the city by another way, yea, by the way which was on the south of the city Ammonihah. And it came to pass that as he entered the city, he was an hungered. And he saith to a man, Will ye give to an humble servant of God something to eat? And the man saith unto him, I am a Nephite, and I know that thou art a holy prophet of God, for thou art the man which an angel saith in a vision thou shalt receive."
He literally says the same thing. Thou art the man. Or does he say a man?
Thou art the man.
Yeah, he literally says the same thing.
Wait, what the heck? Okay, we're experiencing this live. This is epic. "Thou art the man which an angel saith in a vision, thou shalt receive. Therefore, go with me into my house, and I will impart unto thee of my food. And I know that thou will be a blessing unto me and my house.
Joseph literally quoting Alma. Oh, no, Amulek.
Yeah.
He's quoting Amulek. Right
Exactly.
That's cool.
And so you have this instance in which a man of God is commanded to do something. He tries to do it, doesn't work out, gets persecuted heavily for it. Then he starts to leave. He's like, all right, I know I've been commanded, but these people don't want it. All right, I tried. I'm going to dust off my feet maybe. But then he's visited by an angel that says, no, go in, you will be received. Okay. And unbeknownst to him, at the same very exact time as this whole thing is happening, is God is preparing someone else to help him accomplish his mission that he's been called to. Right. But if Alma didn't do, like it says in the text, speedily return to the land of Ammonihah, then likely the plan that the Lord had laid out for him wasn't going to come to fruition. So because of his willingness to be obedient, despite all of the physical evidences in front of him being, look, only idiots try the same thing and expect a different outcome. And so, but he knew that he was commanded of the Lord, and so he trusted in him. And so we see Amulek being prepared by an angel as well. And another story in there, okay? Another lesson. If you're struggling as a missionary to find people to teach, just ask people to make you food. I'm serious, okay? He's like, he basically says, it just says he goes to a man and says, will you give me something to eat? A servant of God to eat. Now, we would kind of quote the same thing to, members in our mission when we were a little hungry, right? We'd be like, do you have anything to eat for a humble servant of the Lord? And they would. But no, I have many instances on my mission where I would be walking in the street and I'd hear Brazilian accent in the streets of Portugal, and I'd run wherever to that person, because I knew that, one, Brazilians have faith in God, okay? They're humble, zealous people of Jesus Christ. And two, they made some pretty dank food. And so I would go and talk to them. I'd be like, yo, where are you from? And then I kind of got the essay of like, if they're from the Northeast, they made this kind of food. I'll be like, oh, I love that kind of food. They're like, I make the best. I'm like, no, you don't. It's like, yeah, come over to my house tomorrow night and I'll feed you. And then we talk about Jesus and break bread, cheese bread, pão de queijo. And it was delicious. So yeah. So it was amazing. So anyways, the scriptures are amazing. The restoration is amazing. And I would highly recommend making an effort to deepen your understanding of these incredible miracles that happened in the early days of the restoration, so that the church could roll forth like a stone cut out of a mountain, because it's pretty awesome.
Yep. Well, it's 11:30 at night and we're tired.
Yes. So sorry if you didn't I feel like there was some good substance to this video. All right. I hope you're okay that I didn't waste your time watching clips of Candace Owens just blabber on about things. It's like, what is even the point of this? So hopefully you found a solace in the words of JFK. One, I just want to hit a Daily Dose of Babylon real quick. Okay. Because we already read some comments.
All right.
Daily Dose of Babylon is a segment in which we talk about something that is not related to the church, even tangentially, but I feel that it's important to bring up. All right. And this maybe is going to be controversial here, but it's a tweet from 2024, from April 13th, 2024, from Donald Trump Jr. Okay. That has the funniest community note of any post on X ever. Okay. This is the tweet. It's from 2024. It says, remember when they said Trump would get us into a full-blown war with Iran? Times like these should make us all realize how lucky we are to have Trump, his strength, and his resolve. And then the community note beneath it is, Trump got us into war with Iran.
That's crazy.
So do what you will with that. It aged like some fine curdled milk. So anyways, just a little rage bait for you. Remember, if you're not looking at the world through a restored gospel lens, you're only getting half the story. God bless you.